Hi, Miss Davis, it's Sydney, and this is my presentation on the book that I read called One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. So, the book is set up from a viewpoint of four main characters. Here, let me focus that for you. One of the characters is Bronwyn. She's a girl in the book, and she is the smarts, the goody-goody of the book. She has high expectations from herself and from her family. And then there's Addie, who's the other girl. She is known as the beauty, and she is the typical homecoming princess. Then you got a boy named Nate, who is the criminal of the group, and he's been on probation multiple times for stealing and drug use. And then there's Cooper, who is the athlete. He plays baseball, and he's the all-star pitcher. So basically, the book in one of Us is Lying is that it is set up in four different perspectives, and it's about people from different types of social groups, and they come together in detention one day. And then there's a kid named Simon who's also in detention with them, and he made a blog called About That, where he posts people's secrets, and he uploads it to the blog and kind of like reveals everyone's secrets. And so they were all in detention one day, and then Simon died during detention, and now everyone is looking at the four students who were in detention with him. So it's a mystery book, and set in high school, and yep. So my short story was The Coming Out Story, and The Coming Out Story is about a girl who, it's about a boy who grew up in a very welcoming household. They were very supportive of all genders, all types. They felt that love was love. And so when this unknown author was a boy, his mom took him to a ballet bar, and he fit right in. And so when he did decide that he was gay, he felt very comfortable to tell his mom, and she was very supportive. So I thought this contradicted with the book of One of Us is Lying with the character Cooper. So in the book we find out that Cooper is secretly gay, and he has a girlfriend as his cover-up, and his dad is very, against him. He has his set rules for the house. Just, I don't know if it's really religion purposes or just that's how he expects his son to be. So Cooper he feels like he has to hide it. He doesn't feel safe to talk about it. So in one of the quotes of The Coming Out Story, I said, "My mom has worked at a gay bar when she was younger and had several gay friends, so she never tried to make me behave in a gender-conforming way." So I thought this contradict with Cooper, because unlike him, the author in here grew up with a gay-friendly environment, and he was raised by a family who was accepting, unlike Cooper. My other one is, after coming out to myself, the rest was easy for me. So in the author of The Coming Out Story, it was very easy for him to come out. But in One of Us is Lying, Cooper, it was not easy for him because, he was a star athlete on the baseball team. His dad had high expectations, and they weren't very supportive of it. And again, he felt very comfortable come out, and so I felt like it was different from the stories because you have a perspective of someone who's gay, and they felt comfortable coming out because their family was very supportive and they helped him through it. And then you have another story of it to where a guy felt gay, but he didn't feel like his parents would be very accepting of it. My nonfiction story is Lucy's cyberbullying story. So the author tells the audience about the time she was cyberbullied by her peers, and this girl's named Lucy. The lighting's a little messed up. So the reason why Lucy shares her story is so that she hoped that no one feels alone and hopeless when they get cyberbullied. Lucy was cyberbullied by her peers and friends at school because what she posted on social media. So basically, Lucy wanted to go to this party and she couldn't go to. So she posted on her private Instagram account and talked bad about the people and said like she didn't even want to go anyways. So then everyone at school saw what Lucy posted and they got really mad at her, and her so-called friends, ignored her, stopped being friends with her. And then about 2 weeks later, after the whole incident, Lucy posted on her real Instagram a selfie of her, and she said, "Life is good." And then a couple minutes later, her comments blew up with people saying like, "You deserve this, no one's really your friend," and just awful, mean comments. And, at first, Lucy felt like she was being attacked, and then she went to summer camp for a little bit, and when she came back, her mom got a call from the school of the girl who kind of initiated the whole thing to make her feel bad, and she said that the reason why she was saying those hurtful things is because of what Lucy posted on her private Instagram. And so basically Lucy learns from this story is that her mistakes she realizes that it's important what you put online. That's a quote from the short story. So I thought this really resembled with One of Us is Lying, because the blog that I talked about earlier, called About That, is very revealing of other people's secrets, and they don't want them to be revealed. And so I feel like Simon, probably towards the end before he passed away, knew that, he needs to be careful what he puts out there, because eventually it's gonna not only hurt yourself in the end, but also other people. So I just felt like this story really connected with it. So then I have a poem called A Stereotype of Me, and I'm not gonna really read the whole thing, but I highlighted or I changed the color in yellow of some points that I wanted to talk about. The first one is, I know that all you can see is a stereotype of me. So I said basically the author is saying he's not what most people say or think of him. He doesn't want to be classified as a stereotype, so he wants to break that stereotype. This poem's pretty much about how, everyone can view him as a different way, but he's saying like, no, I'm not that way. You see me that way, but like my personality does not match with what you see. And it's almost like, don't judge a book by its cover. Second quote I want to highlight is, I'm not the picture you created, I'm not the things you were told. So basically going along with that whole stereotype thing. So the author is comparing the stereotype as a painting of a picture, something that can be changed once it's painted on a canvas. But he is breaking the social norms by saying he's not a part of that. So with the canvas, you have a canvas, right? And if you paint a picture of, a deer, I see a deer right there, a deer head's on the wall. So if you paint the picture of a deer, everyone's going to see it as a deer. But some people who know it, let's say it's not actually, this is a really bad analogy. Let's say it's actually not a deer. Let's say it's actually like a antelope. I don't know. Maybe it knows it's that, but it's not. That was a really bad example, but I don't know. Hopefully you get what I mean. Okay, it looks like I got cut off a little, but my third quote that I want to say is, when it hurts you to see me smile, the things you said went up in smoke. So he's talking about here basically how like all these things that people say about him, all those stereotypes, don't affect him. He's not fazed by it, and he's just going to be happy, and he's not even going to think about it. It's just going to go right over his head. And by him reacting that way, instead of dwelling on it and going on the comments, you're letting the other people win. You're saying, oh yeah, so he is like this person. He is stereotyped as that. But if you say, no, I'm not even going to pay attention or give my attention to them, those words are just going to go away. They're not going to be effective anymore. You throw out the words, but if they don't hit you, then it's just in the air. So my news article, I read an article about 5 ways social media affects teens' mental health. So in the story, in the poem, how this relates to the story is that, everyone's based on their different types of stereotypes. So, you got the jock, you got the criminal, you got the brains, and you got the beauty. Those are all 4 different types of typical stereotypes in a high school setting. So basically, towards the book, you can see a change of those stereotypes breaking. They break the social norms, they break the stereotypes as the story goes on. So I really felt like this poem really related to that. Sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. Okay, so now the news article. I read 5 ways social media affects teens' mental health. So McManus really stressed about how social media was the center of the whole problem because the blog called About That was on social media. So I have a quote that says, "Not only are teens developing brains vulnerable to so much time online, but because they often have difficulty self-regulating their screen time, their risk can increase." So basically it's just saying how when you see on social media, you might see a girl's perfect body or a boy's perfect body, or I should be like them because they're getting this many likes. Like the more you do that, the more down you put on the more you put yourself down. So I have another quote. Additionally, they are more susceptible to peer pressure, cyberbullying, and sexting. All activities involving digital communication, making navigating the online social world techniques, at times. So basically it's just saying like you're more prone to depression, there's more cyberbullying, and just social, not all social media is bad. There's good things about social media, if your aunt lives out of town or people live in other states, like yeah, that's good, but they're also, anything that's good, there's always going to be bad with it. That's how there's a balance in the world, but sometimes too much of the bad, that's when you need to take action. So my overall argument, I have one more fact. In fact, a report by Common Sense Media found that 75% of American teenagers have social media profiles. Meanwhile, 1 in 5 teens have current Twitter accounts. Those are just basically saying how highly social media is for teenagers, especially, and young adults, even some adults, but it's mainly surrounded by the teenagers, especially in this era today. So my overall argument was that teens can experience mental health issues from too much social media, such as depression, anxiety, sleep deprivation, envy, and communication issues. If you're on your phone texting all the time, you're not getting that one-on-one communication. Communication is pretty much like 70% of body language, your facial expressions. Yeah, there's emojis, but it doesn't do much. If you're texting, you can't really tell if someone's being sarcastic or genuine. So it kind of affects one-on-one relationships. I also said social media isn't always used in a negative way, like I said earlier before, but too much of anything can result in a bad thing. Social media is starting to control teens and young adults' lives. So I thought this connected with One of Us is Lying because, like I said earlier, that whole about that blog called About That is surrounded on social media. Everyone wants what's new. There's a quote in the book at the very beginning saying 5 scandals, 3 cheatings, and 1 party that got busted, and that's only on today's week of Bayview High. That's not the exact quote, but it's something like that. And everyone wants what's new, what's the new hot gossip, what's next. In a high school setting, it's very much everyone living in everyone else's lives and not in theirs. So I thought this article was great to connect with my book. So songs, I did Say Something by A Great Big World. So basically, in the book, Bronwyn and Nate have a little love interest, but they're not really, meant to be together, or outside looking in. They don't really look like they should be together. He's the criminal, he's the bad guy, and she's the goody-goody. But it's also typical that the good girl's going after the bad guy. So I have Say Something because it's about forbidden love. So anywhere I would have followed you, say something, I'm giving up on you. So I basically said in the book, Bronwyn and Nate have a love interest, but they aren't supposed to be together. Bronwyn's dad does not approve of Nate, but he still goes after her anyways. I thought this song was Nate writing to Bronwyn saying, no matter what, I'm not going to give up on you. I'm still going to be the better version of myself, because he does become better for her, because he felt like she deserved it. And if you really love someone, I feel like that's the sacrifice you need to make. So it was over my head. I know nothing at all. So towards the end of the book, Bronwyn and Nate begin to drift apart, and he felt like he wasn't good enough to her. But then in the very end, they kind of got together. But You probably already know that. I'm still learning to love, just starting to crawl. I believe that this is a love song, like I said earlier, Nate writing to Bronwyn, because he has never really loved anyone before, you know. In the book, he mentioned that he would have friends with benefits with this one girl, but once he met Bronwyn, he found something real. He found a real relationship. So that's one of my songs. Another one of my songs is called Suicide Hotline by Logic, and so basically, this is about, you know, someone who's suicidal, but in this song, he has a message saying that, like, you're not alone. Suicide is not the answer. There's help. So his song is actually the phone number for the suicide hotline, but it's called Suicide Hotline. So I thought that was pretty cool that he says, like, you can always get help. So I thought this really connected with Simon because he was suicidal. So in one of the quotes it says, I feel like I'm out of my mind. I feel like it ain't my life anymore. So I really thought that this tied in with Simon's character, because when he created the blog about that, he was, like I said earlier, trapped in other people's lives and not himself, and that could have caused depression. You know, he could have said, I want to live this life, I want my life to be like theirs, you know. And that can really affect someone. So it says, I don't want to be alive. I don't want to be alive. I just want to die today. I just want to die. So I said Simon ended up, you know, unfortunately planning his death and planning to kill himself and set a murder mystery on these kids. So, you know, I kind of felt like that fit. And my life don't even matter. I know it. I know it. So Simon's girlfriend explained that how he was depressed and he didn't really like his life anymore. So I just really thought this song was connected with Simon, who wasn't really a main character, but he was a big impact in the book. So does this book belong in the classroom? I do believe this book belongs in the classroom. In a high school classroom or even a college level, since this is a college class. But I think since the book is based in a high school setting and there's a lot of you know, problems that people face today in that book, and I thought it was excellent because you know, what I took away from the book is that how, like, yes, it is a murder mystery and that's really cool, but it's also, you know, life is a mystery, so it connects that with it. And, you know, they deal with things like gossip, rumors, and stereotypes. Some students may relate to the cyberbullying, suicidal thoughts, or confused by their sexuality. Like, there's so many problems, especially in the world that we have today, put into this book, and anyone can relate, especially anyone can relate to Nate's story, anyone can relate to Bronwyn's story or Addie's story, Cooper's story, and if they don't, they know something about it. They know someone who can relate to it, and I just really thought how McManus tied it all together was really cool, and I really thought it was interesting how the book tells you, hey, you might be classified in this stereotype, but that does not define you, and nor shouldn't. So I really thought that, you know, anyone could learn from this book if you have an open mind. I really thought it was great that I used this book for this presentation, for this research project, so it made me you know, see that in a different way. I felt like if I would have just read this book for fun, I would be like, oh, it's a fun teenager, you know, drama mystery book, but I think it was really good that I did this for a research project because it made me learn a lot. So this is on my works cited, and that's the end of my presentation, and thank you, and I hope you enjoy, and sorry if it's a little confusing, but I think you know what I mean.